In this episode of the Butt Chronicles, we take a look at Beavis and Butt-Head, episode 19, No Laughing, part 2.
Welcome to Industrial Industries World Radio's The Butt Chronicles.
You said welcome.
Oh God.
Hey, what is up, ladies and gentlemen and butt munches alike? Welcome to the Butt Chronicles, your audio guide to everything Beavis and Butt-Head. And I'm your host, DJ Glowing Ice. And today we're taking a look at Beavis and Butt-Head episode 19, No Laughing part 2. And it first aired on MTV on June 2nd, 1993. So what happens in Beavis and Butt-Head No Laughing part 2? Well, let's check it out. The episode starts in a public restroom as Beavis and Butt-Head are taking dumps in the stall toilets. As we see the front doors of their stalls and their feet moving underneath, Butt-Head says, "I think it's a very important issue in a woman's life. I've looked into all the options, and I'm using the Today Sponge." Both of the boys laugh, and Butt-Head says, "That was cool." Beavis says, "I don't want gimmicks. I want a long-distance phone company I could count on." The boys both laugh again, and Beavis says, "Hey, Butt-Head, McVicker says if we laugh anymore in class, we're gonna get expelled." "Yeah, that would be cool," says Butt-Head. Next, we see Beavis and Butt-Head in health class. They sit in the back of the class, as we see their teacher, Coach Buzzcut, standing up front by the chalkboard. In front of the class, Coach Buzzcut says, "So, Beavis and Butt-Head, I understand Mr. McVicker has a little arrangement with you guys. Yeah, a little probation." Beavis and Butt-Head sit at their desks, looking uneasy. Coach Buzzcut continues, "You see, class, Beavis and Butt-Head here are not allowed to laugh for a whole week. That's right, and if they do laugh, they'll be expelled and they'll have to go to Hope High School where they'll get their asses kicked on a daily basis by all the other delinquents. Ha ha ha!" The classroom fills with laughter. Beavis and Butt-Head force their mouths to be shut as they try not to laugh out loud. Coach Buzzcut continues, "Well, I was real glad to hear that, 'cause this is Sex Education Week. That's right, Sex Ed Week." The boys are on the absolute edge of bursting out laughing as they hold it in. Coach Buzzcut, with anger in his eyes, gets just inches away from Butt-Head's face as he yells, "We're going to be talking about the penis!" Butt-Head trembles, holding in laughter. Buzzcut goes on, "We're going to be talking about the vagina! Do you think that's funny, Butt-Head? Do you find it amusing that we will be talking about the testicles?" Butt-Head puts his hand over his mouth to keep from laughing. "Yes, we're also going to be talking about venereal disease, sexual intercourse, the scrotum, the clitoris, and..." Coach Buzzcut pulls Butt-Head's hand away from his mouth and says, "And we will definitely be spending a lot of time talking about masturbation." We see a shot of the class from the front as the other students laugh. Coach Buzzcut turns around, facing away from the boys, and walks to the front, not bending his legs. At this point, the boys are on the complete overload of laughter as they still hold it in. Coach Buzzcut, now up front with a clipboard in his hand, says, "Well, now that that's out of the way, let's take roll. Butt Kiss, Gaylord, Hyman." Next, we see the shot of the front doors of Highland High School. The bell rings for the school to be let out. The boys burst out of the doors and run outside. With their faces red and sweaty as they've held in the laughter, they finally let it all out, and laughs just billow out of their mouths uncontrollably. Their faces turn from a red to their normal skin shade as they let out all of their laughs. Cut to the boys on a vacant lot, and Butt-Head says, "Then he said penis."
"Yeah, then he said masturbation,"
says Beavis. "Then he said vagina. That was cool," Butt-Head says. Next, we see another shot of the boys in a field, but they're next to a line of telephone poles. The boys stand in front of a cut-down telephone pole as Beavis has a chainsaw in his hand and a grasshopper in the other. Butthead says, this court is now in session.
I know you've been sworn, sir, and I have read your complaint,
says Beavis. Butthead punches Beavis, steals the grasshopper from him, and says, it's my turn to be the judge, asswipe. Butthead continues, okay, this court is now in session. How do you please to these charges of,
trespassing,
says Beavis. Trespassing and buzzing around and getting in my face and stuff. How do you please to these charges against you, says Butthead.
The defense rests,
says Beavis. Butthead then sentences the grasshopper to death by sawing off its tweeter. Beavis starts up the chainsaw, and while trying to cut the grasshopper, he cuts the tip of Butthead's finger off. As Butthead's finger spurts blood, the boys sing,
breaking the law, breaking the law.
And that's the end of Beavis and Butt-Head, episode 19, No Laughing Part 2. Now let's check out the music videos. First music video we got is Baby Baby by Amy Grant. And Butthead says, look at this. What a bunch of crap. Then he later asks, is this a Clearasil commercial? This is stupid. Then Beavis says,
yeah, and it sucks too.
Then they change it. Next is Mickey by Tony Basil. Butthead says, this sucks. And then he later says, these cheerleaders are fat. Then they change it. Next is Rock You Like a Hurricane by the Scorpions. Seeing the glowing pods in the video, Beavis asks,
whoa, is this Michael Jackson?
Yeah, that's where he sleeps, says Butthead.
Nah, he told Oprah that he doesn't really sleep in a hyperbolic chamber. He has a skin disease.
Butthead says, you watch Oprah? What a wuss.
Shut up, bunghole. I just watched it that once because I thought it'd show his hair on fire,
says Beavis. Yeah, right, Beavis. What a wuss. Butthead then says, I'm not just a hair club member, I'm the president. Beavis says,
you said member.
Butthead says, let's try to find a video that doesn't suck. Then they change it. Next we have Take It Back by Reba McEntire. The video takes place in a courtroom, and Beavis and Butthead mistake it for a cop rock rerun. As a guy in the video plays saxophone, Butthead says, no sax in court. And then he later says, the prostitution rests. Then they change it. Next is Come Undone by Duran Duran, and Butthead wishes he could have a face on his butt so he could blow his nose into his underwear. Butthead also says, we should start a band called Butthead Butt-Head. Beavis sees a man putting on lipstick in the video, and he says,
whoa, that guy's one of those Transformers.
And the last music video we have is Dance of the Dead by Corrosion of Conformity. Beavis says,
now this is what death rock is all about.
The boys headbang to it. Then there's also a shot of Beavis trying to light a cigarette. Butthead says, these guys are cool. Those are the music videos. Now let's check out the fun facts. The bathroom scene and the insect court scene at the end with the chainsaw was cut from all of the video releases. Coach Buzzcut yelling at Butthead in class about what they'll be studying for Sex Ed Week originally had the lines of scrotum and clitoris cut. It was only until the next year in January 1994 when reruns of this episode would include the lines scrotum and clitoris. The episode was officially released on the Mike Judge Collection Volume 1 DVD set, and both Part 1 and Part 2 of No Laughing are combined into one single episode. Now with this, it is the director's cut, so it's kind of a bad thing because, especially in this Mike Judge Collection, director's cuts usually mean that the episodes are trimmed down. So much like the other home video releases, the beginning bathroom scene was cut, along with the ending with the grasshopper and chainsaw scene. No Laughing Part 2 is the 14th episode of Beavis and Butt-Head Season 2, and it's the 19th episode overall. And IMDb, the Internet Movie Database, gives Beavis and Butt-Head No Laughing Part 2 an 8.5 out of 10 rating. Now I'll give you my review. I like this half better than Part 1 because right out of the gate we have Coach Buzzcut just yelling penis, vagina, just... It's probably one of the biggest classic moments in Beavis and Butt-Head history. And that's like right off the bat, right then and there. There isn't much more to the episode besides just that scene with Coach Buzzcut yelling at the boys. And I remember in first grade, one of my friends yelling that a lot on the playground. And it was glorious. Good times. Yeah, it's a genuinely over-the-top, great, funny episode. It shows that Beavis and Butt-Head actually do have some control of themselves, but it's just insane that they have to laugh as much as they do. I think they just didn't want to get their asses kicked by the other delinquents at Hope High School. So there you go. I'd have to say this is an episode that is definitely worth a second watch, a third watch, a fourth watch, because it is just good. It is just a solid gold Beavis and Butt-Head episode. So I'm going to have to give this one a 9 out of 10 rating. It's a must-watch episode, and even though part 1 of this episode isn't as good as part 2, you should watch them together because it's meant to be. That's just how it is. Beavis and Butt-Head episode 19, No Laughing part 2, is a 9 out of 10.